Are the Dolphins the perfect team for Josh Allen and the offense to get it right? Why the book on stopping the Bills only can have a few readers. And Emmanuel Sanders rewrites a little bit of history. That's all coming up on this week's edition of the Buffalo Plus podcast.
Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus podcast presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates with a veteran day off today. Mike, the Bills getting ready to go down to Miami, a divisional opponent. We know Josh Allen is 5-1 against the Dolphins. Sean McDermott 7-1 against the Dolphins. Week 1, disappointing loss to the Steelers. How can they turn the page from that in Miami?
Play in Miami, right? I mean, especially for Josh Allen. Look, Miami's a good team. They're well coached. You know, they won 10 games last year. I mean, they're that team. But against the Bills, something happens, right? They beat them with Fitz last year. They destroyed them with Tua in the second game. Mm-hmm. And I think I checked with the NFL this morning. They're already got the tweet ready to name Josh Allen Player of the Week because they know it's either going to be this week or when they play him in Orchard Park in October. And I know that sounds like, look, I'm not dismissing the Dolphins. I'm saying something happens. Josh Allen was Superman against the Dolphins, even as a rookie. I mean, he started out as a rookie. So something about playing Miami, which, hey, look, you're going to be the Bills quarterback. Being good against Miami has always been a good thing. They need him to be good against New England, too. But against Miami, fans want to beat Miami. It's a division opponent. So, yeah, I think it helps in many ways.
I do, too. And I feel like one of the things we asked Josh Allen this week at practice, like, do you approach the game any differently? Is there any reason why you've had this success? Because it is kind of an outlier when you look at other teams that he's played against. And look, we know Josh Allen has been successful against other teams, but the numbers against Miami have been staggering. And he just said, classic Josh Allen answer, this is how I approach the game. It's every week. I look at things the same way. But it is interesting to note because, look, and you said it too, if you're going to be good against an opponent, having it be in a divisional one is definitely on the upside. But I think this is exactly what the Bills need to mend their confidence. And look, like you said, you cannot overlook this Dolphins team. They have a lot of talent. And I've heard people talking about this. They do remind me of the 2019 Bills, where you have that up-and-coming quarterback. You have some talent around him. You have a great defense. Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, the questions are out there about Tua, right?
Yeah. Like, let's be real, though. There were questions about Josh Allen, too.
Sure. Tua
Tagovailoa.
It's, by the way, if you ever have a second, go on YouTube and listen to back a few years ago, Alabama fans.
Oh, really?
Trying to
say.
Spectacular.
Okay, Tua's name is not hard to say. I will not say Giannis's last name.
Yeah, well,
I don't need to, but I sort of need to. But Tua's, like, if you just say it fast enough,
you can also say Tua, but it's tongue, like a tongue. He says it. He pronounces it. Yeah. Tagovailoa. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Will we be pronouncing this name for a long time as a division quarterback? That's up in the air. That's really the difference. And you said it. In 2019, there are questions about Josh going forward, right? Mm-hmm. It's funny that he's got Trubisky on the team with him, but they were having sort of parallel starts to their careers. And then Josh exploded the next year. And, and Mitchell ends up with the Bills as a backup. But with Tua, that's the case because we've heard all the Deshaun Watson rumors. Who knows what Miami would do at the end of the year? They still have a lot of assets. They feel like they have built up a team and they're hoping that Tua becomes that guy. He's talented, but you're right. I mean, when you look at this team, they've got a lot of talented guys in that secondary. Xavier Howard, is really good. They added Waddle, one of Tua's old teammates. There's Alabama guys. I think I saw something. There's maybe 54 Alabama players around the league. It's absurd. But yeah, I do see the similarities there. And I see a disciplined head coach. I see a plan in place with Miami. But then the question is, can they take that next step? And just like the Bills, Jenna, you got to beat New England. Well, right now the big dog is the Bills. So if you're
Yeah.
Miami, you got to beat the Bills.
I do see a lot of similarities, I would say, between McDermott and Brian Flores, just in terms of structure, in terms of discipline. I feel like he has a lot of buy-in from his players. Like you can see how they're both trying to build their teams. And you mentioned the Dolphins defense. I mean, their calling card is takeaways. And that is something I feel like Bills fans, the ball was on the carpet a couple times last week. It's been an issue that we've seen even Devin Singletary have those issues. Obviously, Josh Allen as well.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say how concerned are you, but we saw this issue last year with Josh sometimes with the fumbles and having the ball out. And sometimes that is something that, he's getting clobbered and he has no idea. But ball security, as we know, and those takeaways are huge in this league, and they can completely change the makeup of a game.
Well, listen to the Bills defense from this past week.
Yeah.
What did Leslie Frazier say? Jordan Poyer. We didn't take the ball away. What a difference it is in a game. Look, count the 4th and 1 as a turnover. Different type of turnover, but in terms of impact of giving the ball up at the spot, it's massive. There was an old saying, and I don't think it applies as much anymore. They used to say, any drive that ends in a kick is a good drive. And the idea behind that was you're either kicking a field goal, an extra point, or you're punting and gaining field position. I don't think that applies as much. Yeah. But if we want to compare a 45-yard punt to a blocked punt or an interception or a fumble, flip the field, all those things, the damage that a turnover does is huge. And you're right, Josh put it on the ground, and that's the way Miami survived last year. Yeah. That's where they thrived, was turning the ball over. And that benefited Tua a lot.
Yes.
He started a lot of drives in plus territory. Not as much against the Bills, because he was the one turning it over in that game against the Bills. But yeah, it's a big difference. And it's an issue, especially when you're in this spot on the road, needing that win in game number 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's always going to be something that's harped on. It's a fundamental of the game in terms of ball security. But I feel like some people are having those thoughts creep in of like, okay, is this going to be a habit? Because this is something that we've seen. And I feel like we talked about so much last year of like Josh making that one decision where you're like, it was like old Josh, like rearing his head, like rookie Josh, like making a throw, trying to fit it into double coverage to a fullback in the flat. But no, just something like that, where I think this is something that obviously is going to be an issue all season long.
But there's a difference between, Josh wheeling, throwing, making plays, and then doing bonehead Josh. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. I mean, again, I will do what I do. I'll go back to the old days. Jim Kelly threw some idiotic passes. I'm sorry, Jim. I know you watch Buffalo Plus. I know you're watching this. I remember being at a Monday night game. They were playing in Pittsburgh, and it's almost halftime. Literally, the clock is going to run out. They really can't score. Yeah. They don't have a timeout. And he throws an out, and it's picked and gone for pick 6 for a touchdown. Like, it was just a brutal decision by Jim. And you're like, how could he do that? Yeah. Well, he did that sometimes. That's different, Jenna, than what I saw last week, where Josh wasn't putting the ball up for grabs. Yeah. He fumbled twice, right? He fumbled. Yeah. He wasn't sure of himself in his throws and his decisions. Yeah. That's the part I found a little concerning last week. But a lot of that was based on who they were playing and the way they play defense.
Yeah, and this brings us to our next point of, we talked to Stephon Diggs at practice, and he said first of all, the Steelers had all offseason to game plan against this Bills team, which you could say the same point about the Bills, I think. But at the same manner, he talked about how they saw a lot of the wrinkles that they've seen in other games. He didn't specifically say the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, but a reporter said, like in the Chiefs game, and he kind of did the head nod type of thing. Yeah. And it's funny because we talked about it, Dan Fates, the three of us, and we were saying how like the book is out on how to beat the Bills. You rush with 4, have 7 back and cover, like all this stuff. But realistically, this Steelers defense is very good. Yeah. There's not a lot of defenses that can do what you would need to have happen week in and week out.
Well, it's funny you say rush with 4. So you're talking about rushing with just your defensive linemen. And if you can get pressure with just your D line, look at what it does. There's 7 other guys to cover. You don't have to send the extra guy. Now, it was funny in the post game. I think it was Sal Mayorana asked Sean McDermott about, man, they got to you with 4. And Sean, which to me was a little revealing, and it was a shot at his own offensive line where he's like, yeah, unless they rush 3.
Yeah. When he said that, I was like,
yeah.
Oh,
That's him saying, yeah, we got lit up. If they get to you with 3 or 4, it's a massive difference. Yeah. But if that's the book, a team that has the talent on that D line to consistently get pressure without sending an extra guy, or they got the corners that can hold up with an extra guy in pressure, well, good luck, because you can count on one hand, basically, if you can, the amount of teams that can do that on a consistent basis. And Pittsburgh is one of them. So that's why it's a book, but it's more of a pamphlet. There's only a few little
pamphlet. I feel like it's like a thesis. Like not a lot of people have the ability to go through that.
Yeah.
I will say though, to be devil's advocate here, this team, the expectation is for them to have that deep playoff on all of those things.
Well, those teams are out there. Kansas City can be one of them. Tampa Bay is one of them. They're playing both of those teams. In the past, Tennessee was one of them, but they made a lot of changes. So I don't know. Baltimore, again, that we've seen that. And by the way, to your point about the book, and I don't want to harp on this too much, but I mentioned it the last time. You know, the offense wasn't good in the Baltimore game. The offense wasn't good in the Kansas City game. The offense wasn't good in the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah.
That's the last 3 times we've seen this offense. They need, you know, when you go to your fancy dinners and they serve the sorbet in the middle, right? And it's sorbet.
A palate cleanser.
Palate cleanser. They need the Dolphins to be that. I'm not dismissing the Dolphins. I'm saying is they need something to get this offense going where Josh is doing the handshakes and all those things because they're scoring points. Because look at the last 3 games. It hasn't been pretty for this offense. Survived with defense, got handled in the championship game, and got frustrated by the Steelers. They need one of those games on Sunday.
The palate cleanser. I like that. This is like the ginger.
By the way, you know, the stars, the white napkins, that's the way you roll.
Oh, yeah, of course. In my 2010 Subaru Impreza. Which is currently getting pelted by birds. I have a tree that I park under.
That's cruel.
Honestly, it's comical. It's genuinely hilarious. I'm gonna take a picture and post it to Twitter because.
Wait, let me ask you this: Can you take that car through the car wash?
I honestly feel like it's like putting a chandelier in a haunted house. It's like it adds value, but you're like, but why? You know, what are you doing?
Okay, so what I want now is comments. I want suggestions on what car Jenna can get next.
Help me. They're so expensive.
Now, the correct answer is a different one. And then we'll go from there. But, we'll see. All right,
help me do research because I don't want to. Because the Bills are playing. We're busy. All right, we'll move on from the car thing. But that point of the last 3 games, when you look at last season coming into this season, that there is some when you put it like that and frame it like that, there is definitely a level of taking a step back for sure. But we did get to talk to Emmanuel Sanders this week. Obviously, this is his first year with the Bills, but he is a seasoned veteran, one of the oldest guys on this roster, 34 years old, and he has won the Super Bowl. He's been in big time games. He knows what the ebb and flow of a season is like. And Mike, I think he did rewrite history, right?
He did. You know, he was saying is when you win, you feel like you're never going to lose. When you lose, you feel like you're never going to win. When you win, when you lose, you don't know what you're doing. And when you win, you're the greatest thing since the invention of milk. Now, look, for our viewers here, great viewers on Buffalo Plus, I grew up in a family that owned a dairy. It's a dairy processing plant. Like we had to plant, we sold milk. That's what we did. My family still has the business. My brothers, the hard workers in the family.
All you do is talk.
Yeah, exactly. I did not know milk was. I know it came from cows. Now we didn't have cows. We didn't have a farm. We didn't have cows. My dad used to joke that our milk comes not from a cow. It comes from a tank truck. You know, a tank truck would come because we had all the farms around us in Jersey. And they would bring the milk. I didn't realize there was one of those farmers that invented milk.
It's just such a good soundbite.
It's a great line. I know
Incredible.
what he meant. It's
Oh,
like
of course.
sliced bread.
Yeah.
By the way, I remembered properly the pasteurization of milk, as you pointed out to me, Louis Pasteur back in the 1800s. That's when they made milk safe to drink. I think cows had the milk going for a while.
I think humans also did as well.
Yes. Different kind, but yes. Yes.
But,
Well,
yes.
but to his point about being the greatest thing, yes, there are ups and downs. And I like when they let us in on that a little bit, because what did he say? Didn't he say, like, he turned to Diggs and said, "Oh man, the next 7 days are going to suck."
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he did. That's what he
And
said.
you wake up, you're a Bills fan, you go to bed Sunday night, you are angry, right? You're disappointed. You feel it. And you should be happy. And I know that you know this, but the players feel it. They're like, you saw the shot. You got the shot of Sanders walking off the field,
whipping a towel because he had his head down. He was whipping the towel as he went in.
And they feel it. But then you take some perspective. And you talk about it, Jenny, the way he gave some perspective on what that's like in this league.
Yeah. You want it to mean a lot, but you don't want it to mean so much with the loss that it like distracts.
Yes.
But I mean, Josh Allen even said this week, he's like, I think, and we talked about this before, like the Bills tagline, hungry and humble, that is one of them. They have been humbled. Yeah. So now it's like about being hungry and about being that, manufacturing that underdog narrative or whatever they need to do. But Josh Allen did say, he's like, he's like, I hate losing. Classic line. You learn more from a loss than you do from a win. But he did say, he was like, we don't want to make this a habit, but we're happy it happened early on. Because the word that I heard a lot was just refocusing. Refocusing on the things that the Bills need to clean up, and offensive line play. Like, you can't, I feel like with that loss against the Steelers, it's like you can kind of put the blame in every little pocket, because look, I thought the defense played pretty well in spots, but then in that second half for big plays, Josh Allen didn't look comfortable. Offensive line didn't look great. There was drops, special teams. Like there were things to clean up in every phase of the game.
We know it's different when you win. Let's just pretend for a second. Okay, good example. The game on Thursday night, it was funny. It was a really entertaining game, Washington and the Giants.
Yeah.
Washington ends up winning, and everybody's happy. And I'm listening to some of the post game, and they're talking about Heineke, Taylor Heineke, and basically sky's the limit, and look at what he's done, and they've got this win, and I'm thinking to myself, but if not for that offside call, they lose, and then it's doom and gloom and panic, and the Giants are excited about what Daniel Jones has done.
Correct.
But that doesn't really change anything going into the next week when they go to play. I mean, I'm literally hearing people say, is that it for the Giants? I mean, they're 0-2. They lost on the field goal.
Yeah. But
the idea of focus and getting back, like if you're Washington, you have to guard against saying, yeah, we won that game. But look at all the problems we had. Well, that's what I'm saying is you do get more attention when you lose. You focus on those things. And everybody listening has had that happen at work when you just didn't do it. Like we've had this once, I think, in all these years we've been together doing stuff. I think once we didn't have things mapped out exactly right and it still worked. Well, maybe a couple of times.
Maybe a couple.
But it's, if it fell apart, totally fell apart, you'd be like, hey, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
But when it works, sometimes you can skate a little. Well, they didn't skate because they lost. Yeah. And I do think it's a mindset. And I do think it's because it's the first game, it was even bigger. But I do think, you said about the humble. And well, you can't stop me because I'll just keep saying them. The old lines in the NFL, you're either humble or about to be humbled.
Yes.
And I love that because you do have to be thinking. You got to have confidence and all, but you got to know, and this is where I'll go to the players saying, these other guys get paid too. Keep this in mind when you're playing Miami. Like, they get paid. You've humbled them, especially in January. You better believe they want a little bit of a payback and they're more focused, even coming off a win, because of who they're playing.
Also, too, Sean McDermott was asked to speak about that week 17 win the Bills had over the Dolphins, where the Bills were getting ready for the playoffs and they torched Miami.
Yeah.
And do you think, because I feel like if I were the Steelers, I'd be going back to the games they played 2 years ago, the game last year, and be like, look at this game. Look at this game. And you find any mental edge you can in the NFL. Yeah. If I'm Miami, if I'm Brian Flores, do you think he's pointing at that and being like...
No doubt. And by the way, speaking of Sean McDermott, hold on, I'll be right back. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Hang on.
Truly, I don't know what Mike's doing, but I can say this about a lot of things.
Okay. Whew. I'm sorry. I was just channeling my inner Sean. I just did 15 push-ups on the over here on the carpet, just to get myself mentally ready.
Yeah. I feel like you can't do push-ups like Sean McDermott.
No one can do push-ups like Sean McDermott.
Talk about the video you're referencing.
In practice, it was awesome. He caught a punt, spiked the ball.
Yeah. Sean McDermott catching punts. There's video of it on
we'll put the video. We can put that video up.
Oh, okay. We'll do that.
Yeah. And he caught it and then bang, knocked out the push-ups. Humble and hungry.
Okay, I know this sounds trivial, but like I've never seen Sean McDermott do something like that.
Neither have I. He spiked the ball.
I know.
I thought it was taunting a little, to be honest. And I think they sent the video to the league, but he spiked it and then did the push-ups. I think he punished himself for the spike.
He immediately knew. He's like, all right, immediate flag.
He had done 100 push-ups probably. Well, yeah, at least 100 before he did those. So
I'm sure. I'm sure he is on like a 500 a push-up a day regimen. Something disciplined. Man, it's like a brownie once a year as like a treat.
Yes.
For more like I have like an after lunch brownie and then after dinner brownie. Okay, but I know it sounds, but we've never seen that side of Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe
is that like
he did it at practice.
Yeah,
and you said everybody. Dan was saying everybody like turned around, like wasn't it McKenzie was yelling like, "Hey, take a look here."
Yeah. Isaiah McKenzie was saying, "Get some video of this."
Yeah, it was funny, but again. You talk about focus, and what Miami has as a payback, what the Bills have coming off a loss. These are the games. Nobody's sneaking up on anybody here. It's division teams. This is what you want. This is a truer test than even last week when you're talking about the first game of the year and you don't know. And Pittsburgh made some change, all that stuff. They deserve the win, but it's a little different. Well, everybody's eyes are wide open now.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're coming off that loss. You better come back. You're Miami. You got that win. With a turnover late against New England.
Correct, yeah.
That won the game for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got a chance to go 2-0 in the division. I think it's a great matchup. And for the Bills, yes, we say it's a good one scheme-wise and history-wise. You got to go out there and prove it.
Yeah, especially last year when you look at how well the Bills – I mean, they were undefeated in the division. And there's a difference between being 0-1 in – the NFL and being 0-2 in the NFL. Like that is when obviously
and not just 0-2, you would be 0-1 in the division, 0-2 in the conference against two teams. You start when you think about the big edge that the Bills had on everybody. When they won that New England game on a late turnover, it was like because the worst you can do is split with New England. It's a division win. And of course, they ended up blowing them out. You beat everybody twice. You didn't worry about any time, nothing, none of that nonsense.
Yeah.
You were going to win the division. You got to start with winning the division. It's a big, big game. Bigger in that way, bigger maybe for the Bills, but for Miami, it's a massive game.
I think it's so huge that the Bills or that the Dolphins too are coming off a win.
Yep.
And you mentioned it. We were talking about it because it's like, man, if they're also coming off a loss, like it's just a different mindset. I feel like as you approach things, if you're coming off a win as opposed to a loss, Mike.
Yeah. And Mac Jones had to cancel his trip to Canton this week. They're going to do it in a few weeks when they get they're going to do the full dad bod version of his trophy when it goes into Canton.
Okay, but you bring up the point of like it's crazy that Josh Allen is
That's my Mac Jones impersonation.
What is it? A principal breaking up a school fight?
School fight, yeah.
It's so good. But you bring up, like, Josh Allen is the oldest starting quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I will say it's exciting for the division. It really is.
Yeah.
When you've got the guys that they have. I mean, going back to the day when it was Jim Kelly, it was Ken O'Brien, who was really good coming out for the Jets. You know, it was obviously, you had Dan Marino, and then down the line, it became Bledsoe. It was a little bit for the Patriots. So that was a little farther down, obviously. But they didn't have him. It was more of like Steve Grogan back then. And
just love going back.
Yeah. But in those cases, with these young guys, that is fun. But, the NFL also stands for not for long, and with a guy like Tua, we'll see. It's a huge game for him, who, by the way, won the national championship
with
and Brian Dable, along with Nick Saban. I think there's Saban. Remember, they benched. We watched that game in Jacksonville.
Yes.
We watched that championship game. It was after the Bills playoff game.
That was when
Dable was the coordinator.
Correct.
They benched Jalen Hurts at halftime, came out with Tua, and he threw the game-winning touchdown. I believe it was to Devontae Smith to win the game. Well, Brian Dable was his coordinator in Miami or in Alabama. Yeah. And so, there's Alabama quarterbacks all over the place. But, there's a relationship there. But what my point was, how long is he going to be the guy? These are the kind of games that can prove to Miami that Tua Tagovailoa can be the quarterback. Yeah,
there's a lot. So Mike you will not be at the game. Dan Fates will be at the game for us this week down in Miami.
This week, it'll be good. And we'll have it covered back at the station. And importantly here, all over Buffalo Plus on the YouTube channel.
Yes. And I forgot to mention, but please be sure to subscribe if you enjoy our content. We have a lot of fun with it. So we always appreciate all the support.
When you subscribe, you go to the fund that we have set up to get that new car.
Should we start a GoFundMe? That's a joke, folks.
If we put that picture of the bird-infested Subaru, you're going to get a car. I'm telling you.
We're going to just speak it into existence.
Yeah.
They do pay me to do my job. I just, I don't want people to think that's not the case. But
you're cheap.
Yeah. What'd you say?
You're cheap.
I'm cheap about some stuff. I haven't had a car payment in like 6 years.
It shows.
All right. I know people will be on my side with this. All right. Dan will be down in Miami. Mike and I will be back in the studio. We will be getting you ready. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bills against the Dolphins coming up. The Dolphins are actually the Bills are the favorites.
Yeah.
Of course. I believe the line's at about 3 right now, 2.5. But we always appreciate all the likes, all the clicks, all the support. So thank you so much. For Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates will be back with us next week. He's getting ready for his trip. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.